Hello, my name is Ben.
My name is Josh.
And welcome to FPL Graduates, FPL Fridays.
So today we have a guest, Alex Peter, Man United fan. Say hello to everyone.
Hi everyone, how you doing?
So let's get straight into the video. Introduction. Alex, you support Manchester United obviously. How come you support United?
Hey, I support United. It's never really a good thing to talk about why you support Man United, but my dad did, in all honesty, so you know, I was easily impressionable, so I was like, I'll do it as well. And there we are. I've copied ever since.
So unluckily, born into it.
Yeah.
That's a Manchester United fan. When you were growing up, what sort of players were you idolising?
Straight off the bat, it was Wayne Rooney. You know, I think 2006 when I finally started like understanding football, that was when he was going into it. And then there was obviously Ronaldo, who a lot of Man United fans still feel like he's on a loan deal sort of thing. Maybe me as well. You know, I don't get to go into it. But yeah, I think it was those players really.
So moving on to FPL base, what Man United assets would you recommend to our followers?
Well, if I was to give a few, it would go Fernandes first. But I know that might be general. But I put him in last year when he first joined us, and I took a risk. I kept him as captain. I kept him as captain all the way through. So
We'd love to see it.
I'm going to keep that trust with him. With regards to people that are not like over 10 mil, you know, you have your Greenwood, 7.5,
Yes,
I believe. Yeah. And then maybe even Williams, only because if we're not getting regularly on,
Spanish.
yeah, I butchered the spelling. But with Shaw being injury prone and everything like that, you know, who knows? He could get run a game 4.5 mil. You can't complain about that.
Oh, decent.
Right, so let's talk about your FPL team now. Who have you got in your team and what are they saying?
There we are. So, talk about my game week 1 or just the team in general?
Yeah, review your game week 1 and then
Cool. So, game week 1, we haven't really got any standouts. We've got a lot of twos with McCarthy, Doherty, Arnold. I had Banega who didn't even start.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he comes in for Mitchell, 6 points. I'll take that. Salah captain, which was my one saving grace of the entire week. It would have been awful otherwise. And I had nobody else return out of St. Maximin, Pereira, Bassoon, Mitrovic, Richarlison, and Kane.
Cool.
Yeah.
A lot of money going to waste there. Yeah.
There is. It really hurt to see, you know, those returns in 2s and 3s.
So good, not a bad week though. Yeah. How many scores? 60?
63.
63. So decent week. Is there any transfers you think of making for the next week?
So obviously with game week 1 of Manchester City and Man United not being in it, I've had De Bruyne on my bench and then I've managed to swap Fernandes out for Salah. Moving forward with that one, I haven't got much else planned. I think I might get some Chelsea players in there, but I want to give them a few more games because I don't think they were too convinced to play against Brighton.
No, they weren't too great.
But yeah, maybe a Werner, maybe a Havertz, I don't know.
It's a huge call, taking Salah out straight off the bat. So
biggest scorer, and you take him out.
Hey, you know what? He's done his part for me. He was a game week 1 investment, and I'm sticking with Fernandes. It's definitely going to come round to bite me again, but you know what? I'm staying out.
So, the next part of the show is test our guest. I hope you're feeling the pressure. We're going to give him 60 seconds to answer as many questions based around Manchester United and FPL as possible. Lundson did quite well last week. He got about 7 points. So, do you reckon you can do better?
I hope so. I really hope so.
Right, let's get those 60 seconds on the clock. 3, 2, 1. Who was the top scorer for United in the Premier League last season?
Anthony Martial.
Good, correct. How many goals did he score in the Prem?
17.
17 is correct. Who scored the most FPL points last season for Man United?
Marcus Rashford.
Wrong, Martial. Post-lockdown, you played Palace behind closed doors. What was the score between the teams?
3-0.
Wrong, 2-0. Who made the most errors leading to goals last season for United?
David De Gea.
Correct. Last season, how many clean sheets did United keep?
13.
Correct. There is one current player in the top 10 for all-time Premier League appearances for Man United. Name him.
Ryan Giggs.
David De Gea.
Oh.
Donny van der Beek is United's newest signing. What numbers is he beginning?
34.
Correct. Last time Man United won the league was in 2012-13. Who was Man United's top FPL scorer that season?
Robin van Persie.
Correct. There is one Northern Irish player in United's squad currently. Name him.
I can't. My mind's gone blank.
We'll skip that one. How many goals has Rooney scored in the Premier League to the nearest 10?
160.
180.
Oh.
Is that time?
Yeah.
That is time.
I got thrown up.
That was intense. I think the Northern Irish one was intense. It was in fact Ethan Galbraith.
Hey, I would love to pretend like I would have got that one.
Yeah, wow. great times. So, Lewington got 7 last week. Alex, 6 this week. It was a great effort, but not quite enough to beat Lewington's score of last week. How do you feel that went?
We'll take it. I'm happy with 6. Wish I could have done better. I'm going to go back and research all the Irish United players.
Yeah, there's a few difficult questions in there, but did very well. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Right, so moving on to the next segment of the show, we're talking about the fixture previews going into game week 2, looking at all the teams and who we think are going to be the best assets to pick from each team.
So, to start with, the 12:30 kickoff on Saturday is Everton against West Brom. We saw last week Everton came barring out the blocks against Spurs, beating them and looking comprehensive. What do you reckon is going to happen in this game?
It's going to be my most anticipated game of the weekend. There's 2 teams there that I really like the look of. Everton looked unreal against Spurs defensively, and they even have some good players going forward. West Brom, I want to see how their cheap budget, affordable attackers are going to do. The likes of Mateus Pereira and Grady Diangana, who I personally have, I want them to see if they're going to do a better job.
Yeah, I feel like there could be some Everton attacking returns this weekend, to be fair. Let's move on to Leeds against Fulham. They're playing at 3 o'clock on Saturday. The 2 promoted teams. Interesting game, that.
It's very big. A lot of people have transferred in Patrick Bamford this week at 5.5. I think he's actually got a price rise to 5.6. And then we have Mitrovic on the other hand. Everyone was so worried when he got benched last week, the first game of the season. I think you will see him start this week. Yeah,
everyone has been extremely reactionary. And I think the Bamford transfer everyone's made is going to bite him in the bum.
Definitely.
And not having Mitrovic, that's a big risk to take.
Yeah, 100%. So moving on 5:30, Man United's first game of the season. They're at home against Crystal Palace. I personally transferred in Bruno Fernandes. How do you think it's going to go?
Well, I've brought in Greenwood to a lot of criticism, and I do believe United may struggle the first game of the season. Yeah. They may struggle to get firing on all cylinders. Obviously, last week they played a friendly against Villa. They lost.
1-0, yeah.
So I think it could be a 1 or 2-0 to Manchester United. I think they will score, but it's just a case of which one of those attacking assets is going to get those returns.
Yeah, so moving on to 8 o'clock, you see a London derby. It's Arsenal at home against West Ham. This is our captain's game. Yeah,
it is definitely going to be. West Ham look a shambles. Arsenal look incredibly good. This is going to be lots of goals for Arsenal, and I'm afraid for West Ham fans, it's not looking too good for you.
Now, their run of fixtures are very poor right now. They needed to get something out of that first game of the season, and they failed to do so. So I think an Aubameyang captaincy is the best pick this weekend, in my opinion.
Moving on to Sunday, the early kick-off at 12 o'clock. Southampton, who are at home to Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, Tottenham, obviously a bit underwhelming the first game of the season. Need to see if they can pick it up and start playing well. A lot of transfer activity this week going into the next weekend, so maybe they'll have some fresh players for game week 3.
Yeah, we'll have to hope and wait and see. Southampton obviously looked relatively dangerous against Palace, but couldn't break them down. So let's see if they can break down that Tottenham defence.
Yeah, Newcastle against Brighton's the next game on Sunday at 2 o'clock. Newcastle looked very good with their new attacking signings, and Brighton didn't play too bad against a really exciting Chelsea team.
Yeah, Brighton was quite impressive up until they conceded those goals. The likes of Lamptey looked very solid, but also as well on the Newcastle side, they looked very decent. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top on this one.
Yeah, then the biggest game of the weekend, we move on at 4:30. It's Chelsea versus Liverpool. 2 of the giants, 2 of the title contenders going head to head.
It is a huge game at the start of the season. Very interesting to see whether this Chelsea team can gel quick enough to beat this free-scoring Liverpool side.
100%. You want to see the likes of hopefully Pulisic back, get more of those players surrounded by Werner. He would have scored at least a hat-trick against Brighton if he had better support around him. So many times he was through on goal and he just couldn't get the pass.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on, at 7 o'clock on Sunday is Leicester against Burnley. And honestly, I cannot call this one. I don't know which way it's going to go.
No, if we're going to see a 0-0 out of the weekend, I think you could be in this game. Leicester looked okay at the weekend. They weren't anything great. Burnley is their first game back, so we need to see how they're going to do. They haven't made any new signings. But Burnley do have a great defensive team, so yeah, what do you think?
Interesting. I'm thinking it could be 1-0 either way, to be honest. Vardy, although he scored twice last weekend, didn't look like scoring other than the penalties. So
XG was at 0 other than penalties, so I would not be getting him in your team anytime soon. Moving on to Monday night, we see Aston Villa at home in their first game of the season against Sheffield United.
It'll be interesting to see if Sheffield United can bounce back from that poor performance against Wolves. I believe they will do so against Aston Villa. I feel like the shape and the way that Wilder's team plays, it may be too much for Aston Villa on Monday.
Yeah, it was a hugely controversial game last season, this fixture, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Aston Villa, a lot of new signings, Emi Martinez at 4.5 and Ollie Watkins at 6. It'll be good to see how they get underway.
And the final game of the weekend, 8:15 on Monday night. I'm going to do that again because I just started burping in the middle of it. Here we go, that's the one from last night. And the final game of the weekend is at 8:15 and it is a big one. It is Wolves at home to Manchester City.
Yeah, personally don't have any Manchester City assets yet, but it'll be good to see how they get underway, see who's starting in that Pep Guardiola roulette, and hopefully maybe Wolves can get a result.
Yeah, Wolves started strong. They're also starting with a lot of different wingers, so it'll be interesting to see as well how that works out because they've got a lot of good 5.5 million winger options.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of budget options in that Wolves defence. I think a lot of people have overlooked at the start of this season.
Right, so this segment of the show is where we get our guests to pick who they think is going to be the top point scorer of the week. So the rules are you can literally pick anyone. They don't even have to be in your team. Pick a player who you think is going to be the highest scorer this week.
I'm sticking by it. Fernandes, captain, as myself. I'm putting my money on it. I think he's going to do well against Palace. Hopefully with a penalty, who knows, and then we'll wait and see.
Wow, Fernandes against
Big
Crystal
cool.
Palace, big cool. As you can see, we've got a nice little league table, and we got last week's point scorers. Lewington, Aubameyang, he got 14 points if you captain him, so let's whack that on there. Lewington, 14 points. Let's see if Fernandes can beat that score for game week 2. What do you reckon? Are you going to get more points than 14?
I hope so. I'm feeling lucky about it.
All he needs is one penalty and he's sorted.
There we are. That's the stuff to do.
Right, so here is the FPL Graduates and who we think is going to be the top point scorer of the week. What are we saying then? Shall I go first?
You can go first.
I'll go first, straight off the bat, and I'll say Aubameyang at West Ham. That's too good to ignore. I think he's going to bag at least 2 goals against that West Ham defence who looked dodgy last week. So that's my pick for top point scorer of the week.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with Aubameyang. West Ham looking disarray. He's obviously scored game week 1. So interesting, but I'm going to go outside the box. I'm going to go, if you're feeling risky, you want to get some extra points, get ahead of a lot of people who have transferred him out this week. Go with Trent Alexander-Arnold against Chelsea. I think he's a great option. Against Brighton, Chelsea looked terrible defending crosses and set pieces. I think there's a big gap. Either Robertson or Trent, whichever one you have, captain them, and you could see some good point rewards.
Alex, what do you think of those 2 picks? What are we saying about
I think they're both justified quite well. I can see big returns from both of them. Very interesting to see how Trent does against Chelsea, especially how he performed for England and against Brighton. But wait and see.
Definitely.
I want to be surprised in my team as well.
So up to the next segment is we talk about the one to watch game week 2. Me and Ben are going to go first, and then Alex is going to pick either agree or pick a different one. So we're going with Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
that? Yeah, 8 points last week. He scored, got in the bonus points, looked really, really dangerous against Tottenham. And I think it's going to be the same again against the West Brom team that defensively isn't really so sound.
Yeah, not too great. Plus, Everton looks so amazing against Spurs. Like, James Rodriguez changed that team. They've got a very good midfield now, so I feel they will be able to create more opportunities for DCL. Who are you going with, Alex?
I'm going with Jack Harrison for Leeds.
Big call.
Big call. But I think watching Fulham against Arsenal didn't really have too much about them. And I think Leeds, after their performance against Liverpool, albeit they didn't get any points, but 3 goals against the champions of England is never a bad shout for a team that's just been promoted.
You're not wrong.
So I think Jack Harrison, that's the one. Thought he was good against Liverpool, so maybe he can do the same.
Yeah, he did return indeed, so good shout. Let us know who you're getting in for game week 2.
Right, so let's have a look at game week 1 in the FPL Graduates FPL League.
Yeah, so we had a top scorer of 98. Our FPL Graduate shout out for the manager of the week. It is Niall Kicken.
Wow, he got 98 points last week. Obviously had that Salah captain, 40 points for him. He had 2 out of his 3 defenders return more than 9 points.
Yeah. So we had James Justin at 9 and Reece James at 14. Also had Leno in at 7. Aubameyang got 7, Werner 5, Callum Wilson 8. He had a lot of returns, and that is why he is the manager of the week.
Yeah, he has got 11 or 12 points more than his nearest rival, But do we think he'll be transferring a City or United asset in?
He has to, everyone is, so it'll be interesting to see if anyone can bridge the gap between game week 1 and 2.
Yeah, let's see what happens next week. Right, so that has been FPL Fridays with FPL Graduates and our guest Alex. Thank you for coming on the show with us.
No worries at all, no worries at all.
All his social links will be in the description if you want to give him a cheeky follow. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you did enjoy this second episode of FPL Fridays. I've been Josh.
I've been Ben.
I've been Alex.
And we'll catch you all
Later.